Oh my God, did you miss us? Did you?
We did.
Did you?
I did.
Did you miss us?
So.
Okay, so you were probably expecting Kira, and you haven't heard Kira's voice. You heard Dustin's.
I'm back.
Dustin's back, bitch. Wait, what was your last episode? It was not Tamala Horsford.
No, it was the one with me, you, and Sal.
Oh, Mitrice Richardson. Oh my God. So you're back. You're back for season 2.
9 episodes ago.
So you're back. Yeah, that was a minute ago. Because Mitrice was like 14, I think.
Yeah.
So we're here. We're back for our Sweater Drunk I'm Not God season 2. Bitches, fuckers, motherfuckers. What have you all been up to? Did you miss me? Yeah, cool. All right. So we are. I don't know what we are. Like, I'm not drunk yet. We kind of were like talking and fucking around, and then we were like vibing out, and then next thing we know, it was like 4 cocktails later. So I don't even know what to expect.
This is gonna be fun.
This is gonna be great because as soon as that edible kicks in, it's gonna be crazy. We also have a third. What? Did she pee?
I don't know.
Nah, she was licking her ass. Nah, it would have been deeper than that. But so who peed? Luna. Present Luna. Huh?
I think she peed. Yep, she peed.
Okay, so yes. Oh, sorry. My dog peed.
Oops.
I have a new baby. Her name's Luna.
Oh, right.
Say
You haven't
hi.
had Luna since the
I
podcast.
know. Say hi, pussycat. She like, I don't even know what that means, but bet. So yes, Luna's in the house. She is a King Charles Cavalier. She is 4 months old. I got her in August, and she is absolutely precious. She's already 7 feet tall for some reason. I don't really understand it, but hey, she's a puppy. She's growing. She's so cute. So we're back. How have you all been doing? We have been living a
It's been a good summer.
This summer has been interesting. I had some blasts. I've also, to me, the summer was more of a roller coaster because of the strike and the extracurriculars that I throw myself into. But
all about life.
Busy. See, and she biting niggas and peeing on people. She out here like Ara Kelly. Shut up, Brittany. Shut up. Don't even do your second season by fucking talking about. Fuck y'all. I'm going to talk about R. Kelly primarily because I'm talking about the Vampire of Sacramento today, and he's way worse than R. Kelly. Everybody survived R. Kelly for the most part, even though it's called Surviving R. Kelly.
I actually was listening to R. Kelly the other day by accident, and I kind of just went with it.
He came up. It is.
I didn't stop it.
It's terrible. I'm not pro R. Kelly ever, but I'm just saying I'm drunk.
You know, he did make some hits.
But I'm just saying, if we were to compare him to the Vampire of Sacramento, he is no comparison. Those are two different niggas.
One's
just
black,
saying.
one's white.
And one did a lot of other shit. All right, so this is season 2, episode 1. And so for all of those, because, oh my God, being on the tick of fucking tops. I have received so many new listeners. My Bradley episode got hundreds of views, hundreds of downloads, which was very, very exciting. Yeah, she's done. Like, you're being an asshole now.
Well, I'm scared she has to go potty again.
It got hundreds of downloads, and then TikTok's algorithm is just way more like precise, not even precise, but just more broad than Instagram. Instagram tends to be a little more rigid with its algorithm.
Agreed.
But so, every video I post, I'm in 250 jail, but in every video I post, at least I know 250 people are going to see it. With that being said, I've only been on TikTok since August for real. In the beginning of this season 1, I used to post those videos, and I actually, rebranded the whole thing. And instead of doing a Swear to Drunk account, I just kept my personal one. So if you would like to find me over there, and it's called Sting Like a Bee. That's what my tag is. Sting Like a Bee, but BEA, like B. Arthur. I'm ignorant, and I post a lot of videos in my sports bra. So if that's the thing that you're into, I'm selling titty pics. No,
Wait, where were you number like 10 at in the world?
Oh, so yeah. So I got this email. Yeah. So I got this email. I can't remember the company and I can't look it up at the moment because my eyes are crossed, which means that this episode is gonna be wild. But I was doing pretty good in Singapore and Denmark. I was like, what was crazy about Denmark though? Denmark was better than Singapore, if I'm not mistaken. Here, fuck it. You know what? Yeah. So Carlos, I was 107 in Apple Podcast rankings for Denmark, and I was 158 in Singapore, and I still don't understand that. It just doesn't make sense. To be totally honest, I just ignored it.
What up, Denmark? What up, Singapore?
Thank you all very, very much. If you
want to send for her and me.
Yeah, like I would love to go to Singapore, even though they have a lot of rules and I'm afraid that I would accidentally break them. That's the only thing about Singapore is don't they have like a lot of rules about I don't litter, so that would never be a problem. But there was like this thing that I learned when I was in college that in Singapore, you will definitely go to jail for littering.
So the only thing I can really think about Singapore is Crazy Rich Asians.
I didn't watch it.
Oh, such a good
I heard it was good though.
So
yeah. I heard it was good.
Cute.
I'm gonna watch that actually because that is comedy. One I wanted to. I know. You know how I am about that. We were just talking about how I don't really rock with romance, and it's primarily because my life is romance. A lot of the time, I'm always dealing with some piece of shit or some kind of piece of shit or some eighth of a piece of shit that is fucking shaking me up. I'm also a Taurus, which means I'm ruled by Venus, and so it impacts me a little bit more. But with that being said, the movies sometimes just feel too realistic, and that's not escapism to me. I watch movies to escape. So, it's like I want to watch something that I've never experienced before. I was just talking about this with my homeboy Sal. Like what?
Like murder.
Yeah, like murder. And I was talking about this with my homeboy Sal because I said the beautiful thing about films is films always put us in the safe space of being able to have a certain experience, because at the end of the day, this is like a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. Roller coaster gives you the experience of falling out of the sky with the safety of being in a roller coaster. I can watch a horror film, be curious, about that horror film and what's going on in that horror film without wanting it to happen to me, because the proximity is so far. Like, it's a movie. It's not real.
It's like trap music.
Period. Like, people love listening to Dirk. That's his life. That's not yours. But your exposure to it is like, okay, I'm learning.
Well, normal people.
And I'm happy. Yeah, sure.
Try to go emulate it.
Yeah, that's dumb. That's dumb. Like, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, but same thing for movies. There was once these kids who decided to shoot up a school in Columbine because they, at the end of the day, were watching The Matrix. That's like, nigga, like, really? Matrix. I was taught that film suspended your disbelief, but it also is a form of escapism. And so sometimes with romantic comedies, if I'm dealing with any like romance drama, whether it be I'm in the knee deep in the middle of an affair, or there's a situation with somebody that I'm fucking with, I'm like, why would I want to watch people endure that when I'm enduring it here in my bedroom?
I like romantic comedies because I want Prince Charming. I want that. I think that is my escapism. Like, I've never had that true, like,
that experience,
bubbly, lovey feeling. Like, I mean, I've been in love, like.
But that's what I notice about people who like romantic comedies. They never experienced it. To me, I have. At least I feel like I have.
I feel because in a romantic comedies are together forever.
All right. No. You're talking about the happy ending. First of all, nothing lasts forever. The privilege of being on a human on this planet that is going to be way more worth than it lasting forever. Is that you experience it at all. What is it? It's better to love and lost than never to be loved at all, or whatever it is. Like, the experience itself, like, to me, and I don't know how anybody else feels about this, but I don't give a fuck. This is how I feel about it. The experiences that I have with certain individuals, whether it be love, physical, or whatever, are worth it. Do I need to have those experiences with someone else later? I don't know, because I feel like it was so tense and so, she's under the bed, I think. It was so intense and so traumatic the first time because what people don't understand about intense feelings of love is that it doesn't balance out the way you think it does. Hold on. And this is why I'm saying this. And I took this quote out of this book because it reminded me of something. He said, and this had nothing to do with love, but I equated it with love.
Okay.
He said, there are times in some people's lives that are unique and provoke a rare emotion that is located somewhere between ecstasy and agony. Not everyone is so fortunate. That blew me away. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Because it made me think about how I have had that experience. And I am grateful for it. Like the instances where you have felt so elated because you thought you were in love, and then the disappointment of it not working is agonizing. So the ecstasy is the euphoria.
No, totally. I get it.
And then there is the fuck, it's not going to last. That's the agony. But then you always climb out of it. Because I've always climbed out of it.
But I even think with that quote, like I get how you like you've taken it and like took it to like a romantic relationship, but like it's bigger than that. Like
because, for sure.
Like, no, I mean, so when I thought about it, I just thought about like, and it was like, damn, that's true. Because I think about every relationship I have.
Yeah,
like people
just
in general,
relationships
right?
in general. Yeah.
And there are certain people who I very much enjoy being in their presence, no matter what we're doing. You, for instance, you know, Steven, Carmelo, like. No matter what I'm doing around those people, we can just be in the house watching TV.
But you'll enjoy it.
An enjoyable feeling.
Yeah.
And then there's other people that I go around and I'm just like,
fuck
why
this.
are you here?
And you know what's crazy that you say, oh my God, this is so real, because it's crazy that you say that too. There's a song by the artist Snow Allegra. She has a song called I Want You Around that I'm obsessed with. I love this song so much. But the song, she has a lyric in it where she says, I don't want to kiss you. I just want to feel you. She didn't want the ecstasy. She didn't want any of that. She wanted the energy. And sometimes being in people's presence. Because, see, we equate romantic love to just like the need to fuck a person. That's not always it. Like, that's a lust thing.
Lust. Yes. I agree.
Yeah. But in this instance, she was talking about that she was digging this dude so much that she was like, I almost don't even need to touch you.
No, yeah.
Just literally just need to be here. And that's more than enough.
So I totally get it. So there are times where I can have sex and, you know, it could be great.
Yeah.
And then it's done, but there's still something missing. Then on the flip side, I can have somebody that I'm actually into come over. We not have sex and we just cuddle
way more satisfying.
Still way more satisfied than, you know, orgasming 3 times.
Yeah. Even though I orgasmed 15 times last month, and that was wild.
Yeah. Were you satisfied at the end?
Bruh. Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure that I somehow engaged in Kama Sutra without knowing. I looked it up. I think I did because, I'm sorry, y'all. This is not the context you all were expecting, but welcome to season 2. Because I will say me and Sal are working on, the sex podcast. Yeah. But I had an experience that I felt like I had never experienced before. Like, you know how you have, and you know what's crazy too, because I've also been looking into like this idea of like twin flames and
the difference between like
soul ties, soulmates, and all of that shit too, and really trying to make the distinction, because you do find yourself in this space where you're like, there is something that is flowing through me that I also feel like is flowing through you, that is connecting us both to this experience, that is making this experience 5 times more intense than it would have been with anyone else.
Yep,
and then you find yourself, but then there's the this is the agonizing part. There's the euphoria, the ecstasy. Here's the agonizing part. Then you find yourself being like, but I'm not sure this is for us for real. But I have found myself in that space where I was like, I am very satisfied, at least for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you feel like, because after that, you feel like I could not have sex for the rest of the year. But then like 3 weeks go by and you start thinking about it. You start having you start having flashbacks and you're like, I could really do that one more time. But with that being said, I do believe that there is a part of it that It just depends. But I also feel like and this is what I was saying earlier too. I feel like what I'm experiencing right now may be a once in a lifetime moment.
It could be.
Physically.
No, and I think that like I said, you're exploring the twin flame and the soulmate or the soul.
Yeah.
And there's a difference. And I think as people, when you have that feeling, right, it's that difference of understanding, like, right, every soulmate isn't supposed to be a romantic relationship,
yes,
right?
absolutely.
But as people, I don't know
absolutely.
if you can always differentiate between those two of like, I have this intense feeling. Now I think for me it's easier because I'm a gay man, so like, a lot of my soulmates I think are women, and so like I'm not sexually attracted to women, so it's easy for me to have these intense connections with people.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, okay, I know there's no sexual tension here.
Yeah.
And I know this is just an immense friendship.
Yeah.
Versus, which makes it even harder when I have gay male friends.
Yes.
And have the same thing. So I think it's, for heterosexual couples, it's a lot harder where they're like, oh, I have this attachment to this dude.
Yeah.
And I like him. Yeah. Or I like her. So it must mean I'm supposed to have sex with them.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not true.
That might not be what it is. That might just be somebody that should be in your life.
Absolutely. So it works both ways. You could also sleep with somebody that for good and goddamn well you probably shouldn't date.
Or maybe you don't even realize it until after you have sex with them. But then you lose that soulmate, right?
Yeah,
because like you've now complicated the situation with intimate romance or a physical connection
that people become addicted to,
or you start having expectations for this person because you thought because you had that connection with them, now you've added sex.
Yes.
But if you would have just kept the sex out of it and that would have just been your friend, then you might have had this amazing plutonic relationship.
Absolutely.
But you complicated it and you've put
by throwing in vaginas and penises.
You've thrown it in and now you have different expectations. You try to date. When in real life, y'all, if you would have just stayed friends, you would have had an amazing relationship.
Absolutely.
Because you would have had different expectations for each other. But now you've thrown sex in it, and now it's like, you're supposed to just want me.
Yeah.
But there's something slightly missing that they're seeking in somebody else.
Exactly.
And now, bam, now you've lost a soulmate or a twin flame.
Because you fucked your twin flame.
Because you fucked your twin flame.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yep. Sometimes you don't know it's your twin flame until you fuck them.
Yep.
So anyway,
yep.
Back to murder.
Murder.
But this is a teaser for possibly I was going to call it a spinoff, but it's not. Possibly, that would be terrible. Possibly another podcast that
under the same umbrella
that we're brewing up. Okay.
I'm coming for you, Wonder Tree.
Wondery.
Wondery.
Yeah, we drunk. That's really what it boils down to. We drunk, and in about 10 more minutes, I'm about to be incredibly high because my eyes are getting low.
Gin. She's turned me into a gin addict.
I have been converting gin. Oh, no, that's fucked up. I was about to say something terrible. I was about to say I call it genocide, but that's rude.
Oh, especially right now.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, no, that's not what that's fucked up. But in my head, I was thinking more so homicide and gin. So then I was about to say genocide, and I was like, wait a goddamn minute, that's actually a word. But no, like, yeah, I have been parading around. I feel like Empress should pay me. What are we drinking?
Oh, because we're drinking.
We are drinking. We're drinking a version of a lavender bee's knees. I don't have the ingredients because I'm not that prepared this season. But, you'll get it in the show notes. But it's mostly lemon, honey, lavender syrup, gin, soda water. Or you can use a little bit of sparkling wine if you need a little bit of something. And then you stir it with some ice. And you're good to go. So 3 parts of everything for 2 people. Or 3 parts of, whatever. You'll figure it out. So it's a bee's knees. So today, what are we talking about for season 2, episode 1? I'm glad to be back. I'm
glad to have you back.
I know. I actually enjoy doing this, so I don't hate it. I've been pushing it on my TikTok, and I got a few listeners. I'm not mad. At it. So today we're going to do the Vampire of Sacramento. And because this bitch is being released on Halloween.
Spooky season.
Spooky. So we're going to talk about Vampire of Sacramento. I read a book called A Thirst for Blood, which was the true story of California's vampire killer. And it was written by Lieutenant Ray Biondi and Walt Hickox. Lieutenant Ray Biondi is a serial killer expert and a homicide commander. And Walt Hickox is a journalist.
How does one become a serial killer expert?
I know. Researching a lot of motherfucking serial killers and also investigating them, in place. California was a goddamn shit show.
I mean, it's a big ass state.
It covers most of the Western Seaboard. It's in the 1970s, post Vietnam, drugs were stupid. They were everywhere.
When we say stupid, we just mean everywhere.
Yeah, because a few of them are fine, but they were fucking everywhere. They were acting like assholes, and obviously too, a lot of the Army veterans that were coming back from Vietnam, were settling in places that were warmer due to homelessness and lack of Vietnam, resources.
So why would you want to come back to the cold?
Yeah, facts. But anyway, so with that being said,
we lost that war, by the way, people.
Yeah, we didn't do well. But California was cracking with crime. They weren't really winning. Now, by December 1977, Biondi was an inspector. He had been an inspector for 15 years and a chief of homicide for Sacramento County Sheriff's Department for less than 2. Now, this crime occurs in Sacramento between 1977, or these crimes, between 1977 and January 1978. They were dealing with so much crime because it's one thing, you got random shootings, you got drug abusers, you got mental ill people walking around, you got a bunch of homelessness, but what you also have was murder, like tons and tons of murder, because after this was Richard Ramirez. They were busy. They had just dealt with the Manson family. So excuse me. So even during this, you'll find out that a lot of these people, like, shootings were normal, kind of like me the other night when I was laying in bed and Lakeshore Drive was cracking. And I was like, wow, those sound like gunshots. I hope everybody's okay. That's the thing about being a city dweller. You get desensitized.
Kind of desensitized to things, like,
because I was like, it was like pop, 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 pop. And I was like,
It could have just been cars backfiring.
It probably, but there's so much shit that pops off over there. But anyway, okay, so let's get started. Sip. Like I needed to sip any more than I've already sipped. This is going to be great because I also told myself season 1 that I was going to be better about actually getting drunk.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, because last season...
There was like 3 episodes last season where you just didn't drink because you guys were...
Yeah, we were doing other shit. Stuff. But also, like, there were also multiple episodes where I wasn't drunk at all. Like, I just wasn't drunk because I drink so much normally that I had my tolerance is so fucking high. But also, excuse me, allergy season. But also, in addition to that, I was trying to detox my body all week because I got a bar crawl tomorrow and I knew we were going to do this. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to drink. And by not drink, that meant that I was only going to have 1 cocktail instead of 3.
One a day.
We going to keep it a buck. Okay. I'm just going to do a 1 a day, like a vitamin. So... hence, hither, therefore, that is why I am really tipsy right now, and I'm also high.
Yeah.
So, but this is a celebratory moment because this is season 2.
Season 2.
When I did the first season, did I anticipate doing a season 2? Absolutely not. Did I know that I was even going to finish season 1? Didn't even know.
Did she know she was even going to call it a season?
And I'm gonna be honest too. Like my ex-boyfriend, because he was being completely and totally insane, this turned into a comfort thing. Yeah. I started researching H.H. Holmes because he was being crazy and abusive.
Good point.
And I was in that bed that you're in right now, fucking researching H.H. Holmes before everything happened. Oh. So October 8th was when I finally did that episode, but I had told myself in early September, I was like, I think a podcast is the way to go. Also because I had been listening to so much Morbid.
Yeah.
And
shout out to Elena Nash.
Yeah, for sure. And so because I was listening to him, I was like, this is such a beautiful thing that they have. And I like it.
They are dope.
And I was like, I can vibe out. So that's why too, like those first 10, maybe more than that, actually 14 episodes, I think, were me by myself. Then once I brought Kira on, you know, you all would come in as guests, but Kira was going to be a regular. If you're wondering where Kira is working. She is out there hustling. She'll be back next week though, but she's been gone for almost 2 months. So yeah, she out there hustling, and we're still on strike. Just wonder, you know, just in case you all were wondering, things are still pretty terrible. All right, let's do this. We had our sip. Now, on December 29, 1977, Biondi, he got the call and assigned Don Haybecker and Detective Fred Holman to a drive-by in Sacramento's East area. When they arrived at the scene, Ambrose Griffin was on his way to the emergency room for a gunshot wound. Now, originally, Ambrose's wife, Carol, thought her husband was suffering from a heart attack, which Carol thought he was, you know, just the right age for. She was like, shit, he old, fuck. But Ambrose was only 51. That's number one. And he was an engineer, though. He was at the Federal Bureau of Land Management in Sacramento. He and his wife had lived an upper middle class life. He was just a regular guy. There was a clue from one of Ambrose's sons suggesting that there was a man walking around with a rifle. And when they questioned the man, he had a .30 caliber hunting rifle, and Ambrose was shot with a .22 caliber handgun. Wow. So the man was also not in the area at the time of shooting. So they were like, look here, he ain't fucking do it. Like, he couldn't have. So the police began canvassing the area. They were talking to neighbors, and many neighbors confirmed that they did hear shots, but they didn't think that they were gunshots at the time. Also, no one was really all that shocked by the sound of shots anyway. It was just too common to hear them.
That sucks.
Yeah. So people also like to practice a lot in the area, which was the thing. Like that's one of the reasons why they heard a lot of shots, because there was a lot of people who would just like go and like shoot tin cans and shit like that nearby at a creek. So of course, after talking to and weeding out lies, talking to all these people and, you know, misleading clues left and right, because you know how people love fucking up murder investigations, which I'm like, what a dick. Like, don't call in. Just fuck off. Yeah. Let them find what they need to find. If you ain't got nothing useful, then fuck off. But they were coming up with nothing. So they were finally able to find 2 shell casings near the home of the Ambrose. The police were terribly embarrassed by this because they learned that the casings were actually found by a news crew. So they were like, oh my God.
Like, we did do our job.
It was literally like he was embarrassed, like he showed up to work with no pants on, you know? Sounds
about right with the police sometimes.
Yeah. So one had been rolled over by a car, which not great. And they were like, it's either rolled over by a car or was stepped on. The other one was in decent condition, but both were from a .22 caliber handgun. So they ran ballistics. They were able to determine that both were fired from the same gun. Okay. Apparently, it's easier to match bullets from the same gun than it is to match the casing to the bullet. I know. Don't even ask. At first, the police thought someone just wanted this man dead. They were like, well, it looks like it was a targeted hit. But given the interviews and the relationships that he had in his life, that seemed pretty unlikely. I'm probably more likely to have a hitman hit me than him. Then they thought maybe it was a thrill kill. And that could easily lead to a dead end, because thrill kills, they just kind of kill people and bounce. So after talking to the neighbors, they learned that there was a suspicious vehicle. It was a Ford, a Pontiac, or a Chevy, and it was likely a pickup spotted right, exactly. 3 different types spotted driving slowly down the block. So they blast the car description out to the public in hopes of finding the identity of the driver. So they're looking at this as a drive-by. They're like, somebody came by and shot him. We don't even really know. On January 9th, 1978, they came across a report on a woman named Dorothy Polinsky, who reported that a shot was fired into her home. Now, she was in the kitchen doing dishes when she heard a sharp noise and something hot passed through her bun that she had on the top of her head. Now, this was filed as a random shooting and occurred 2 days after Ambrose Griffin was killed. So Haybecker and Holman, they went to interview and searched the kitchen. They found 22 slug embedded into one of the shelves.
Same gun.
Yep. It was from the same gun from the Ambrose shooting. So they had 2 separate shootings. on 2 separate occasions from possibly the same fucking gun. Now, this woman was lucky that day.
Man, like to have a bullet fly through your house and just go over your bun.
Yeah.
That would freak me out.
That would freak me the fuck out, especially knowing that someone was killed later. Like,
that could have been you.
That could have been you. So what they realized even from that detail was that this was a random shooter, because there was no connection between these 2 individuals. So 2 weeks later, on January 23rd, Biondi, he's Italian. Biondi responded to a homicide on 2630 Tioga Way. The scene had already been secured and CSI was called. Teresa Wallen was 3 months pregnant. She had been brutally murdered. Her husband, David, arrived at the scene after arriving home from work and was at the time of the Biondi's arrival giving his statements to the deputies. So when Biondi got there, he was giving his statements to the deputies. Now, Teresa was home alone, and unfortunately, she did not lock the door when she was home alone.
The 70s.
Oh, which, you know, and in the 80s too, because this was the same issue with Richard Ramirez. You know, and I talked to my mom about this extensively, obviously, because we have conversations about this shit all the time. Just about what we as Black people living in the inner city, how we handled the door locking thing.
Yeah.
You know, because my mom was kind of like, there was a time where you used to have your door open, but we always had a screen door to kind of lock or to have hook locked. The South was probably a little different, but she was like, when they came up to Chicago, you know, it was like, we just didn't, like, the environment wasn't safe enough ever for us to just have unlocked doors. And it wasn't really because of murder all the time. It was because of theft.
Yeah, no, it's theft. I mean, I guess, though, you know, I didn't move to Chicago till I was 8. So like 93, 94.
Mm-hmm.
And in Oregon, like, I never said who is it when somebody knocked on the door. And told
yeah, absolutely.
And I remember the very first time I opened the door and I lived in Chicago, I opened it for like, I don't know, it was like the gas man or something. And I remember getting like in trouble for it, and like, you didn't even say who it was. I got blamed for being racist and being a white man, and like, you know, and I was like,
he said he was a gas man.
He was the gas man.
I assumed he belonged there. Yeah.
You know, but I mean, it just comes from, you know, I was in Eugene, Oregon originally. And like, you know, I was able to run up and down the streets like until, you know, after dark. And, you know, we felt safe and it wasn't, you know, so I could see that. Like,
I can see it too. You know, my perspective is one of that's a very urban and violent environment. You know, even if the violence wasn't on your block, it was around the corner, next block over, 2 blocks over. And then I also grew up in the era post crack epidemic. So pretty much anything that can happen will happen.
Anything that can be stolen will
be stolen. And so the concept of leaving anything unlocked is foreign to me, because it's like, and now, you know, it's like, obviously if you forgot, like there was one time my mom lives in California, and I was at her house, and we had one of those days. We all went to the mall, we went shopping, we did our thing, we got back to her house, we all KO'd. Like my mom was sleeping on the floor, my sister was sleeping in her room, I was sleeping on the couch. And I woke up and her door was because in my mom's apartment, her actual door, she leaves open sometimes because it's California. But her screen door, she always locks.
Yeah.
The screen door was unlocked, and I was mortified when I woke up. I was so scared when I woke up, because I was like, do you know what could have happened to us?
So I've done that before in my apartment now in Chicago on the South Side, where like, I don't know, I just woke up like, oh crap, like maybe I came in with the groceries and I didn't think about like locking it, and then I didn't go back outside for the rest of the day. And then the next morning I'm like, oh shit, I've been laid here all night.
Yeah.
And I mean, luckily I live in a courtyard with like, you know, you got to get through a couple different entrances to get into my like.
Yes, absolutely.
But still, like if somebody decides they want to like
jiggle all the locks,
jiggle all the doors, because you know they
do that shit.
They do that. Like, now, you know, I'm sleeping on the couch and somebody's walking to my door.
Because could you imagine waking up to a motherfucker in your house?
No.
Terrifying. That's
how
what
do you even react to that?
No, what can I do? You already here. Yeah. We face to face.
I'd be just like, why are
just
you,
utter
what are you
terror.
doing?
What
like, I think that's my answer. Like,
what do you want?
I help you?
Like, what do you want? Yeah. Whew. Okay. So anyway, but Teresa, I'm sorry, pussycat. She like, damn, bitch, I was asleep. Sorry, mama.
She stepped on.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Okay, so she was home alone. She didn't lock the door. She walked toward the front door to take out the trash, and when she got there, she noticed a man standing in the doorway.
Creepy.
The door was still open, and he slammed the door shut behind him.
Oh yeah, more creepy.
Now, he shot 2 shots. The other went through the top of her. Oh, I'm sorry. One entered her hand, which was a defensive wound, and exited her elbow and nicked her neck. The other went through the top of her skull and exited. He fired one more shot into her temple, and the man dragged her into the bedroom. Now, when Biondi arrived, the smaller bloodstains in the living room led them to the bedroom. So there was blood in the wash basin, the sink, like the killer had washed his hands. And quote, she was flat on her back. Her turtleneck sweater had been pulled up, exposing her breast. Her left nipple had been carved off, apparently by a knife. The same weapon undoubtedly had been used to cut open her torso from just beneath her sternum to near her left hip bone. Not only was her innards visible, but a sizable portion of her intestine extended outside her body cavity. Her blue corduroy pants and lime-colored panties were bunched at her ankles, and her knees were splayed open as if she had been sexually assaulted. I did not assume the latter naturally. That would be determined by lab tests. Some sexually deviant killers, I knew, pulled down clothes and elaborately positioned the body so that victims would be found in humiliating positions. I noticed a lead pencil on the floor beside the body, and near it, a book of mattress. Beside them was a crumbled yogurt container covered with blood, both inside out. On the hardwood floor next to the container were several bloody ringlet-shaped stains. I had never seen anything like them and couldn't imagine what the ringlets were, end quote. They had found a .22 caliber casing, but couldn't be sure until they were tested. So the radio was still on and stayed on. And since they didn't they didn't really know if that was intentional, so they just kept the radio playing. So meanwhile, they walk into this crime scene and there's fucking a radio playing. And they're like, this is an eerie soundtrack to what the fuck we're seeing.
That's okay.
So they didn't know but they didn't know if he turned it on or not, or if she had it on.
Oh,
and then so they couldn't turn it on. They couldn't turn it off because they didn't know if it was part of this to turn it on. So her eyes were open and her face was petrified. Needless to say, her family was absolutely devastated. Teresa had been married only 2.5 years. Her husband worked at a linen company and was training as a new driver, and she had just started a new job. So their dog Brutus was sitting there in the dark, terrified when he called out to Teresa. He didn't respond. So like when the husband got there, he called out to his wife. Brutus was sitting there like, I don't even know what to tell you, bruh. That's yeah. And that's when he said he saw oil spots on the carpet, the husband. Excuse me. Now, when they questioned the neighbors, each one mentioned seeing a, quote, weird man. One neighbor said he walked across his porch. Another said he walked across his lawn, which was next to the Wallens. He was white, mid-20s, about 150 pounds, and wore a orange ski jacket. Now, because the dog didn't react, they assumed that maybe the killer was known by the family. But Biondi had said that it could be possible that the dog was just fucking scared to death. Dogs sense energy.
Yeah, and how long has he been in the house with
this psycho doing all this fucked up shit?
Or like looking at my owner dead.
Yeah, exactly. He knows that
cat that's gonna
dogs know when you have cancer. They for sure know when you're dead. Now, when the detective examined the scene the following day, they noticed that the backyard was connected to a parking lot area for the Town and Country Shopping Center. There were these like boards placed on the ground because the opening part of the fence was underwater. So they found shoe prints that matched the prints found at the crime scene. And it didn't really matter though, because the impressions were too faint to take a picture of, but they were semi-sure that was how the killer gained access to the home from that route, or the neighborhood from that route. So they found her belongings, including jewelry and a watch. I mean, she had on several pieces of jewelry and she had a gold watch. He didn't take none of that shit. So they knew that it wasn't a robbery. The autopsy revealed that there were 2 projectiles lodged into Teresa's skull, and they did appear to be from a .22 caliber gun. But the findings only revealed that they were similar, not that they were exact. Her sternum and breastplate had been split open in an upward motion. Her abdominal wounds had 8 points where the knife rested at the base and next to the spinal column. The kidneys were severed and were on the left side below the liver. They knew, quote, the assailant had explored the innards of the deceased.
Gross.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't want to rob her and take some money, take some things that was going to financially.
But you just traipse around in this woman's insides like a normal fucking person. Like,
that's crazy. Like,
fuck off.
And so, like, that's just crazy. Like,
so I'm sorry, he's laughing at something completely different. Sorry. Excuse me. So they had also had some latent fingerprints from a latex glove. There was no evidence of semen or rape. So, okay. But one thing they didn't pay a lot of attention to was the bloody ringlets, which were human type A, which was Teresa's type. Now, the bulletin was now for a, quote, white male adult, early to mid 20s, 5'10" to 6 feet, slim build, dark brown hair, blue Levi's, black tennis shoes, and orange jacket. They only wanted him to come in for questioning. It was just like, yo, we don't know yet, but just come in. Now, it was later determined that Teresa had actually visited that shopping center the morning of her death. She cashed a $10 check there, and the clerk that cashed the check stated that she shopped there often. Okay. So now East area of Sacramento was experiencing these crazy surges of crime, from murder to mysterious deaths to police standoffs and infanticide. Like, this woman had killed her baby. There was also a series of rapes from who they called the East Area Rapist. At the time of the Wallen murder, the East Area Rapist was on his 28th rape. So they were busy. Of course, there were repeating sightings of a strange man everywhere, and it seemed he had moved on to another neighborhood. So one lady in Country Club Center shopping area neighborhood said she heard a knock at the door one afternoon on January 24th and found a dirty man asking for magazines. The same morning, another person had a strange, dirty man asking if he could have some magazines. And this happened 2 other times. And each time he just left when they said no. They were like, no, we don't got no fucking magazines, you dirty bitch. And then he was like, all right, bye. Now, this dirty bastard did this from door to door. He just kept going door to door asking people for magazines. Now, I want to trigger warning this. I should have trigger warned this whole fucking episode, but I'm a trigger warning this because for some reason in this society, we are much more affected by dogs being killed than we are by humans. And that's partly because that's our species and we feel like we're defenseless. So I'm going to trigger warn this. So on January 25th, a couple sold 2 lab puppies to a, quote, skinny, stringy haired man who drove a Ford Ranchero. Now, he didn't care about whether or not the puppies were male or female, which they thought was very weird because they were like, well, you know, do you want to know?
Yeah.
So the next day, that same couple found one of their other puppies dead on the back patio. Now, they pulled a bullet out of this dog and determined that it was from a .22 and that the dog had been, quote, tortured, eviscerated, and some of its internal organs removed.
Okay.
So one lady even said that she was sitting in her home next to the open front door and a dirty man was just standing in her doorway looking at her, and then he just left.
Oh, that's
pretty fucking
I don't want to move.
Weird. Now on January
my door at that point at least.
Oh, for sure. Now on January 27, Evelyn Maroth was 38. She was a single mother living in Country Club Center neighborhood. She had 2 sons, Vernon, 13, and Jason, 6, and she was newly divorced and had a boyfriend named Bill. Evelyn's friend, her name was Neon, which I think is very cute, actually. Her name was Neon Grandguard. She had asked her if she wanted to go with her to take the kids to play in the snow, which there had been a little bit of a cold snap over in Sierra Nevada. And so
snow in California?
Yeah, it does.
Mountains.
Like Big Bear. Yeah. So Evelyn was actually a babysitter by trade, and she had told her, she was like, well, unfortunately I have to take care of my sister-in-law's 20-month-old son. But she asked her if Jason, her 6-year-old, could go because Neon had 2 children and one of them was Jason's age.
Okay. So
Neon said that was fine. So that morning, Evelyn had asked Neon if she could make the trip a little later because she wanted to go grab Jason's new snowshoes. She was going to go rent some. So Neon noticed shortly after that Evelyn's friend, Danny Meredith, had arrived because he had parked his car in her driveway. And she assumed that he was the one that was going to go get the shoes.
Okay.
So an hour and a half goes by, nothing. Then she saw that the car was back and it was facing the garage, which had been open the entire fucking time. So meanwhile, this woman is kind of like waiting for her friend, but she's kind of watching her house at the same time.
I'm waiting for you to get here, so I'm paying attention.
Exactly. So the garage was open because Evelyn had been mowing the lawn and she just left it open.
Got it, because that's what you do when you feel safe.
Exactly. So another 30 minutes go by, nothing from Evelyn. So Neon sent her 6-year-old daughter across the street to see what was up with Jason. Like, yo, we want to leave. What's taking so long? He's back. The shoes, you should have your shoes. And, so the little girl would later say that she did see movement inside, but nobody answered. So a little more time goes by and Neon notices that the car is gone now. So she goes across the street like, what the fuck is going on? She rings the doorbell, nothing. This is not like Evelyn. She's like, Evelyn's just not this type of friend. They close, they neighbors.
They know each
Evelyn
other.
said that she wanted the kid to go to the snow trip. She wouldn't play her like this. And so she asked the neighbors, she's like, have you seen them? Like, what is going on? And then she was like, no, she hasn't. So finally, Neon was probably blown. She just left. She's like, what the fuck is up with her? I think what triggered Neon was the fact that the car left.
Yeah.
Because she's thinking like, okay, there's movement.
Can we have conversation about
and why are you not answering? There's obvious somebody here because there was a car that wasn't here 5 seconds ago, got here. Yeah. So later that day, another neighbor by the name of Nancy Turner, she hears about what happened and she's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go over there and check myself. So when she walks in, she screams and runs out and she says, someone's here. She's like, someone's here, all right, but something is awfully wrong and he's on the floor and there's blood all over the place. Call for help. So there were 2 Salvation Army drivers delivering a couch. They pulled up and they told them that they had a radio and they could reach dispatch. They volunteered to go inside, but when they looked through the window, they saw a man lying down.
Did we not have house phones in the 70s?
We did, yeah. But I think it was just at that time, they probably wasn't even thinking for real. And they knew that they could reach dispatch and they were just happening to drive by. But they said that they saw that a man lying on the floor surrounded by dark stains, which to me, I'm like, that is a very primitive way to say that somebody's dead on the floor surrounded by blood.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what do you think?
Well,
you think he collapsed after drinking a coffee?
Well, I mean, it could though. I mean, if it's a dark stain, like who knows what's on you? I mean, I don't know what kind of floor they have, but I bet it was carpet because it's 70s.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's carpet. So like, if you're on the ground, I mean, okay, I'm assuming you're dead.
Yeah.
I'm morbid though.
Yeah.
So like, but I mean, I guess if I walk in,
you're not asleep.
Yeah, I mean,
you could have had a stroke, I suppose.
You got kids. Maybe the carpet's just dirty.
Ain't nobody answering the phone.
Oh, I mean,
all these people.
Dead, I mean,
just take all of the situations of the circumstance into consideration. He's dead.
Yeah, he's dead.
Now, originally, the neighbors kind of thought that the relationship between Danny and Evelyn, which they did not know if her boyfriend Bill knew about Danny, because this could be the reason why all of this happened. Because see, that Evelyn had a boyfriend. His name was Bill. But this dude, Danny, is the one that came over to take her to go get the shoes. So she's a single mother. But at the end of the day, we don't know the situation between these two. We don't know if Danny knows Bill or Bill knows Danny. Yeah, she's a single mom with a boyfriend.
Oh.
But she was also newly divorced. So She may have been having a good time. So they're like, look, we don't really know what the circumstances is around their love affair, but this could have something to do with it. But that ended up not being the case. And when the police arrived, they noticed the man had been shot in the head. The woman was lying on the bed. She was naked. Her legs were spread and her abdomen was ripped from sternum to lower belly and her insides were hanging out.
What the?
When the officer tried to reach the dispatch, he was in a dead zone, so they couldn't hear him. So he kept yelling until they fucking did.
That's a little...
Okay, so Homicide got the call that there was a murder on Marywood Drive, and all they said was like several people down. I was like, several? Okay, thanks. Appreciate it. Biondi took the entire homicide team this time, which only consisted of 4 detectives. He was like, time and time.
It's the 70s.
Yeah, he was like, the homicide team was mad small. So when they entered the home, they found a man lying face down on the floor. His body, quote, extended across the hallway. His face was buried in the carpet. His right arm extended above his head and his left hand pointed towards his feet. He was dressed in tan trousers, plaid shirt, green vest, and a beige windbreaker. And from the appearance of his windbreaker, which had been pulled aside, and the position of his ankles, which were crossed, it appeared that the dead man had been turned over by someone. I could see gunpowder tattooing on the side of his head. Above his left ear, there appeared to be an entry wound, and the gunpowder tattooing around the wound suggested he had been shot at extremely close range. Now, there were 2 .22 casings on the floor in the living room, 2 holes in the kitchen wall, and blood on one of the kitchen drawers. Now, the bathroom tub was filled with red-stained water and a pile of women's clothes next to it. Evelyn was lying on her back. Her abdominal cavity had been ripped open, and very similar to Wallen's injuries, she was on the bed and she was falling off. A butcher knife was on the floor. So it's likely that she was first attacked in the tub because
that makes sense.
It was blood-stained water. And then there was a pile of clothes. So the way I see it in my head is that her friend Danny went to go get the shoes. She probably either was taking a bath when he got there or decided to take a bath. And then this happened. Now, yeah.
That sucks to be attacked
naked in a tub, wet, naked. It's just such a
invasive feeling, probably like.
What word am I looking for?
Jason,
vulnerable.
He always kills people in the shower.
Yeah, what's up? Well, he's got a water thing. Jason does.
That's a good point.
But the vulnerability.
You're very vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's
full exposure. A lot of the crime scene looked like the Wallens, but it was exaggerated. So when they moved past the bed, they noticed another body. It was a boy, Jason. He had been shot in the head. He was wearing, quote, new maroon trousers and a striped turtleneck sweater with shiny brown Oxfords.
Oh, this is the kid that was
that was the son that was going to go on a trip
to the snow.
Now, they noticed that someone had walked through the fresh blood in a pair of sneakers. The pattern had to belong to the killer because none of the people that were on the scene matched the shoes. So they were like, whose shoe is this? A girl on the block said that she saw a man around the home that morning and said he was in his early 20s. He was the only other man who was spotted in the area. Okay. So Daniel Meredith, who was the male victim, he was likely killed the second time. So he probably arrived the first time, did whatever, he got whatever he needed or did whatever. And then when he came back,
he got killed.
That's when he got killed.
He probably walked in actually when he
and caught him.
Cutting.
And that's what they said too. They said they probably caught him during the rampage.
That makes sense.
So now the goal was to find the vehicle because Daniel's car was missing. So they searched the parking lot of the shopping center and they record all of the license plates for every car that was parked there. Now, it's believed that the killer was looking for her keys because Daniel's body seemed to have been rolled over, which means that the car belonged to Daniel. So there's likelihood that, he was looking for the keys and that's why his body was kind of twisted and his jacket was open. And that evening they canvassed.
So how did he get there?
Huh? So how did he get there? Well, they think he got there through the shopping center. He does that shit. So that evening they canvassed the lots to find the missing pickup. So then a woman by the name of Kate Ferrara, she arrived at the scene saying that she had just dropped off her 2-month-old son, David, to this house earlier that morning because remember, she said she couldn't go on the trip because she had to babysit.
Oh, right.
Exactly 3 minutes later, Holman told Biondi that CSI had found a bullet hole in the pillow in a crib located in one of the bedrooms. Quote, the hole, Holman examined, was right where the sleeping child's head would be. There's blood too, Holman said ominously. Lots of it. So the pillow and the sheet were covered in human blood, and there was a .22 casing on the bottom sheet, and there was a trail of blood leading from the room. There was likely a fourth victim, but they didn't have the body. So they found this on the scene, quote, a brown turtleneck sweater, a pair of brown trousers, a blue sleeper. They found lying on the floor next to the recliner in the living room. A plastic bag that contained wet clothing, including rinsed out cloth diapers, was also found. Baby's high shoes were found in another diaper bag with clean diapers and white socks. An empty plastic baby bottle was on the floor next to the diaper bag, and near it, a hooded blue infant's coat. Virtually everything belonging to little David was there except the clothes that he had been wearing when he was dropped off, end quote. So Marath's abdomen, Evelyn's abdomen was ripped open after she passed. There was very little bleeding because the heart was no longer beating. So obviously, if the heart is no longer bleeding, then of course there will be no blood. There were ringlets around Evelyn's body as well. And when they examined Jason, he had died of a head wound. He was shot twice. The bullet entered the temple region, 3 inches from the left ear. The slug was removed from the back of the skull, and the second was on the lower part of the skull and exited through the neck. Now, Daniel was also shot twice between the eyes, and it pierced the brain and exited the back of the skull. The second entered the left sideburn and went out the back of the head.
That's intense.
Now, Evelyn's body suffered from a single gunshot wound that entered her left eyebrow, passed through her brain, and was between the brain and the skull when it was found. Her right eye had been partially removed by cutting the muscle behind the eyeball. So she had also had multiple cuts to the neck and stab wounds to the clavicle. She had been cut 9 inches from the rib cage on the left side to just above the navel. There was a 5-inch cross cut through the midpoint. The wound was open and her bowels were extended out and dangling over the left side of the abdomen.
That just made my stomach crawl.
Yeah. Now, her organs were stabbed, but there was no injury to the kidneys. A portion of the liver had been cut off. Her small intestine had not been cut to the pathologist had assumed that the killer was looking for specific organs. So the killer had also worn latex gloves. How did they know he wore latex gloves? Yeah. Well, there was a piece of glove in the tissue. Because apparently he cut himself. And they had also found swirling prints that were likely from the glove. Just him, touching shit, moving shit around.
What organs he wanted.
Exactly.
And why? Was he harvesting?
We'll see. She and Teresa had the same organs cut. The cuts would have, quote, facilitated getting blood in the abdominal cavity. The biggest difference, though, was that they found a cut from the back part of the rectum up the buttocks.
Yeah, I just grabbed my ass, y'all.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. The uterus had been cut 6 different places, which happened only if a knife cut upward from the rectal wound. So there was a great deal of sperm consistent with a very recent ejaculation. So she had
intense.
Now. This woman had not had sex since January 23rd.
And who can ejaculate after seeing all that blood?
A freak. A murderer who is a necrophiliac. Right. Yeah, like he's a fucking necrophiliac. Now, she hadn't had sex since January 23rd. Now, that was confirmed by her boyfriend, Bill. At the same time, they were like, they also didn't engage in anal sex. So the fact that she had fresh semen in her rectal cavity was like, what? And so Bill was like, I don't think she was involved with anyone else.
He doesn't really know.
He don't really know. So finally, one of the sergeants found the red vehicle parked in the Sandpiper Apartments, which was a little over a mile from the Maroth residence. This was great because it helped narrow down the killer's activity to a very specific area. The apartments were 100 yards from where the car had been abandoned.
Oh.
Now, when one of the officers from the East Area Rapist Task Force was out responding to the apartment complex, he spotted a dirty, scruffy white male, mid-20s, 50 feet away. And when the man noticed him, he tried to walk away from the complex. But when he questioned the man agreed to go to the station to talk. He was like, okay, bet, I'll go. He did have an orange jacket, but his shoe soles did not match the actual
pair of shoes.
The prints. I was like, damn, nigga could have had more
like
than
20
one
pairs of shoes at home.
Exactly. But they did say that he actually had an alibi, so they eliminated him. Now, many other suspects will be brought in, but one of the top priorities was to find David because they really didn't know if David Ferrero was actually alive or not. The baby.
Oh, okay, that's the baby. I was like, where's the baby?
Mm-hmm. Now, both scenes were covered in forensic evidence, from blood to fingerprints and to shell casings. If you think about it, you know, most killers don't leave that much. They kind of leave the crime, but you know, they try to pick up some shit,
especially in the 70s, right?
Yeah,
like there's no
or
DNA.
Try
like,
to trick a motherfucker. Yeah, exactly. He's just not trying to do anything. So the FBI was just starting this concept called psychological profiling. So they spent
I'm drunk.
So they spent a great deal. What you say?
I was trying to say behavioral without looking in the mic. So I was like behavioral analysis department.
Yes, sure. So they spent a great deal of time really trying to figure out who they were dealing with, because they were like, okay, we got to take this from a different approach because this is super different. That's crazy. This dude is mad weird. He seems to be killing with purpose because he's looking for specific organs. Who are we dealing with? So they mapped out the area and they realized that the killer's activities had occurred within a circle on the map.
Okay.
And that circle was only 1 mile wide.
Oh.
So the killer, and they connected, not even just like, oh, the murders. They connected the dead dogs, you know, him killing the puppies and shit, the murders,
babies.
You know, they connected all that shit. So the killer had to have lived in the area. That was their opinion of it. They knew a few things though. One, they knew he was white. The area was white. There was no descriptions of any other race. Nobody had ever said it was Latino or that it was black. So they were like, he's got to be white because everybody's saying he's white. They also assumed that he was
white crime.
Exactly. They also assumed that he's probably schizophrenic because he was committing these crimes in the daylight. So there was no effort to hide shit, which only a crazy person would do. Not to mention the cornucopia of evidence that he left behind. He had to be mentally ill. Now, most likely he was a loner, unmarried, and working some odd job to survive, which, of course, he had to be a weirdo because seriously, who the fuck would want to deal with him? So that also meant that he had limited social skills and wasn't a con man.
Ted Bundy was a little crazy.
Ted Bundy was also like in relationships with bitches.
Yeah, but I mean, he was still a sick motherfucker.
He was
very social.
That's true. But the thing about Ted Bundy,
methodical though, and like
he was methodical. But there were also moments with different people where they could see the blankness in him. You know what I mean? Because there were moments where Ted Bundy's eyes would change. Yeah.
Besides the fact that,
yeah. So he likely had limited social skills, and he wasn't a con man. They knew that for sure because he didn't steal shit. I mean, he didn't steal from the bodies. They also didn't have any interactions with the victims for a prolonged period of time. It kind of seemed like a one and done thing. Like, I literally come in here to kill you and I leave.
And I go.
You know, if it was prolonged, maybe they would have traipsed around the house. You know, maybe somebody would have been spared. He just didn't really have that.
And nothing's missing, so he's not even like taking like trophies.
No. So Then they assumed, well, he definitely drives because obviously the drive-by, the Ambrose murder.
And stole the car.
And he stole the car. So even though most of the witnesses noticed a strange man on foot, they knew he was also on foot, but they figured he at least drives sometimes.
He knows how to drive. He doesn't own a car, though, necessarily.
Now, it's also likely he was just released from a mental institution. And the reason why they knew that is because he's a newcomer to the neighborhood who's committing these attacks. And they're thinking like, I would have maybe assumed prison, but I can see them going straight mental institution because they already think he's schizo.
And he's young. So like, I don't know. I have the rest.
I mean, if he was already a murderer, he would have been in jail for a long time.
Like really quickly, if he like had already done other things. So like,
that's true.
Maybe the 70s is hard though, because like
drugs.
Well, no, I'm just thinking of like what they viewed mental health as.
Oh, they didn't
and,
really
like, how they like treated it and like what it looked like and like. So,
yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, it wasn't necessarily in its infancy, but it was definitely not as developed as it is now. Yeah, the DSM.
Which, it wasn't that long ago in relation to time. But
absolutely. Like, they just started talking about... Well, they just started talking about psychological profiling, which means they didn't, at the end of the day, actually associate this. Like, they didn't think of the concept of these psychos are doing this. Some people just do it with their own mixture of motive that has its own psychological pattern.
Yeah.
And we got to figure out how to break that apart in order to find them, because what psychos typically can't help but doing is leaving some sort of trend, calling card, something in their wake.
It's the same thing.
Because
the same thing
that's the reason why they're doing it in the first place.
Yep.
So they also were concerned a little bit about the members of the Manson family, because even though that shit was over, there had been a few Manson family members that had moved to Sacramento. And so they were concerned, but the police were like, we do not think this was a group effort. We think this is one person. We do not think this is multiple, because the Manson family kind of operated in group. Now, there were tons of sightings of different weirdos, dirty, walking around, driving red cars. It was the goddamn 70s.
And like you said, like,
who didn't have like an orange car? Like nowadays, you see a motherfucker with an orange car, you're like, why does she have an orange car? You're like, what is that? No, but it was just like they liked vibrant cars. They liked yellow cars and shit like that.
Bugs and station wagons and.
So while looking at the records for guns purchased at a sporting goods store, they found there were several
sporting goods.
Remember they used to sell guns.
No, they still do, and I'm sure in
rural
some states.
Places, sure.
Yeah.
So they found that there were several 22 caliber guns purchased. At the time, this was a very popular gun for target shooters with that, because it actually, at the end of the day, it made it hard to trace because there were so many being sold.
Oh, good point. And there's no ballistics for real like that.
They had ballistics,
but not like we do now, where like you can legit tell.
It's harder to match the gun, the bullet to the casing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, from the casing what type of gun it is, but that, you know what I mean? It's like it just wasn't that deep where they could like.
I'm sure now it's different. I will assume.
So it was cheap. That's why it was popular. And the ammo was too. So Mafia Men had even gone on a record saying they apparently loved this gun because it was also easy to silence, and all you could really hear is a pop.
I'm sure the pop is a lot. So if you put it in a pillow,
yeah. So mind you, the neighbors didn't hear any of these shots at the Marath home, and there were 6 shots that they verified had happened. They also happen at close range, which I think makes a difference.
Well, yeah, because if you're like,
it pops into somebody's head. So
not that I've shot anybody.
I haven't either, so I wouldn't even know.
Shot more than
I only know what I know from this sick shit that I read and like fucking movies.
Have you never shot a gun ever?
No,
I've only ever shot a shotgun in Oregon.
Well, that's a lot.
But it was in Oregon as a kid.
No, I'm just saying that's not even the equivalent of shooting a gun, in my opinion.
That's a shotgun is different.
Yeah, shotgun is a different.
My
beast.
biracial being like I grew up in Oregon, they hunted and shit. Like so.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I keep having guys ask me out. Well, I had a couple of guys ask me out and try to take me to a gun range.
You have your Floyd card, right?
Yeah, I do. And there is a guy that is recently been pursuing me that I know already that offered to take me. And I was like, I may take him up on that offer because I would actually prefer shooting. Yeah, and I would also prefer to go with somebody that goes all the time.
No, yeah, no, definitely. I want somebody to teach me the way to do it. But like, I think that like you're very. If you enjoy it, I think you'll be really good.
I'd be obsessed because when I went golfing, I was like, nigga, I want to go golfing all the time.
No, but let's really go. I mean, okay, let's go Top Golf, but then I will go regular golfing with you one day. Let's go to like the Jackson. Like, let's see if it's the same.
Go over there on 67?
Or, I mean, it's free. I
don't know.
I don't know if it's free, but it can't be that expensive because it's a public golf course. But like, I'm just curious because like you're right, Top Golf is fun.
Yeah, it's just fun.
But I don't know if real golf is.
I don't think it is. That's why I wouldn't want to go real golfing.
Riding. I mean, you drink.
I used to ride golf carts all the time.
You get a golf cart, you drink, and you hit a white ball around.
Yeah, that's what you do at Top Golf.
You pretend like
there's a lot of alcohol there, and they got burgers. So there's literally a section behind.
I know. I mean, I guess that's a good point. There's a difference.
It's just a better experience.
It's not.
Because I don't have to be outside is my point. Well, we're outside, but I don't have to be in. Yeah, I don't have to walk. I don't have to drive to the next fucking hole. It's like, who's finding this ball? How does this even work? But anyway, fuck all that shit.
That's where deals are made.
That's true. Now that's different. Now if you're talking about me finding like a rich husband, maybe.
Okay, let's go.
Now,
rich husband, just know that I'm gonna
check. I'm coming for you. No, I don't want to be in a relationship with anybody. I just PSA. I don't want to be in a relationship with anybody right now. Okay, like let's just be clear. Like only because like there
are any rich gay men.
Wait a minute. No, only because it's just like it's a lot. Like I got a lot going on. Like between the strike, my family. I just got out of a shitty relationship. Like I can't just be fucking around with y'all for real.
Well, if you're rich.
I don't hate
you.
Being
in strife
I don't
with
hate
your rich family. You could just take care of them.
Right, but I fuck with everybody, and I like everybody, and I also like I like being around men. I said that in one of my episodes from last season where I was like, I like men. I like being around men, and it's true. I do. My masculine side just flares up, and I enjoy that part of myself.
Because you're
more masculine than I am feminine. Would you say? No. Would you say I'm more masculine than I am feminine?
I guess it would depend on
how you define those two things.
Well, no, I guess it would depend on in what way you're determining it. Like, are you extremely feminine?
Am I girly? I'm not.
You are.
Oh, okay.
In my opinion. Ooh. Like, I mean, your nails are always done. Your hair
Facts.
is. I mean,
okay. My hair
well,
is
now
messy.
You have locks now, but like, I mean, it's different, right? It's not like you're walking around with dreadlocks like Jay-Z, right? Like they're good. Like prior to your locks, though, your hair was always done.
Yeah, for sure.
Like either your hair, you had micros in, or your eyebrows are done. You're extremely fashionable.
That's true.
So I mean, you are girly. Now, when it comes to other aspects of life, of like security,
things that matter.
When it comes to security and the way you treat friends and family, like you are in that more of a provider, right? Mm-hmm. Like even today, like you bought lunch, you're like, I'm ordering food. Here you go.
Yeah,
pick something,
for sure,
right?
For sure.
You're that person that's like, nope, I got it.
Yeah,
quicker than anybody else.
Yeah.
You're willing to help. So like, I think that part comes out masculine.
Sure. Which is also intimidating to masculine to men, yeah, like a motherfucker.
And you're also financially secure.
Yeah.
So like, I guess in those aspects, like yes, but no, I think you give a very feminine energy.
Okay,
I mean, you're wearing a silky pink pajama shirt right now. Like, what do you mean with pink headphones on?
I love pink. I really like pink.
Are we? I mean, with black glasses with gold trim on them. I mean, are we not feminine?
I am embarrassed at how expensive these glasses are. And you know what's funny is my mom was like, "You need to start buying Warby Parker," and I like ordered like the try-on pairs, and I was like, "I'm gonna keep it honest with you. They don't feel the same.
They don't feel the same."
And whatever. We're not even going to talk about cheesecake.
We're not going to go there today. We're leaving that alone right now.
We're going to leave that alone because I was about to call it Cheesecake Gate. We'll talk about that
on another episode.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll talk about that on another episode because it was funny. Okay, we got to finish this. Okay. Now, where was I?
It's a two-parter already.
Yeah, for sure. So, where was I? Oh, so while they were checking the sporting goods store on Arden Way, they found records of a .22 caliber sold in December of 1977 to a man by the name of Richard Chase. Now, the gun was picked up 11 days before the Ambrose shooting. They even had records on the ammo purchased, and the driver's license number was listed on the document. So they were like, cha-fucking-ching. Now, a woman new to the apartment named Dawn Lawson, she noticed on the news that a strange man was wandering around fucking with people and killing people and shit. And she said, quote, killing people and shit. I'm so fucked up. She said, quote, once in December of 1977, she had looked through his usually draped front window and noticed a large map hanging on the wall above a couch. It looked to her to be a map of Sacramento. It also looked as if it had been marked in several places with heavy black ink. So had he been looking for work, she wondered? But she still thought once in a while about the animals that he had been taking into the apartment.
Killing him.
So she saw him take these boxes from his apartment, but she didn't necessarily know. She was like, I don't know if these are these animals. She knew her instincts were firing off. But you know what? But that's the thing. So when your instincts fire off and you're like, I don't even want to deal with, I don't want to be nothing. I don't want to be near this shit because it makes me a target. And in her head, she's probably like, he's only fucking killing animals. And that's where I got to leave it. You know what I mean? Like I can understand the fear there too. But low key, I would have been like, hey, police, anonymous.
Because guess what? Killing animals is illegal.
Yeah, there's a nigga next door. He been killing a lot of fucking dogs.
I would have told.
So maybe. Quick. I would have told.
Well, I mean, I tell people all the time, like, I will tell.
I'm telling.
Don't commit a crime with me. Well, okay, I'm lying. So if we commit a crime,
I'm not gonna snitch.
I'm not gonna snitch if we did it together.
Ever.
Right?
I'm never gonna snitch. I'm never gonna be a fucking rat. But if you do some shit,
I'm lying.
And
I'm sorry, I'll be a rat. If you commit a crime and they think I'm going to go to jail for it, I'm fucking telling on you.
But I'm saying if the rat definition is if I engaged with the crime in the crime with you, I'm never going to rat.
No, if me and you do something together,
yeah,
and I get
we're
caught,
both implicated,
and I get caught and you don't.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go to jail.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna be like, well, I'll cut a deal. I'll tell you also.
Yeah,
did it with me.
I'm not telling.
Now, if you accuse me of doing something that I know you did,
yeah. Oh no, you're going to jail. You're going. That's different.
Unless I benefited from it in some way. If I had no benefit to it, you're going to jail.
Don't cross me because I'm a double fucking cross your ass. Like I'm fucking. And
I don't believe in the justice system enough to think that like
that justice will prevail.
No. She did it. He did it. They did it. Wasn't me.
I'm coming some way because that's
him. I would have told on. You're killing somebody in front of me. I'm telling on.
Yeah. The only reason why I didn't really take revenge on like my ex-boyfriend is because he's crazy, and part of me kind of felt bad for him.
Mentally
but low key,
unstable.
Whatever.
Not just crazy.
But he was
psychological.
Yeah,
issues.
He had some psychological issues, and because of that was one of the things that kind of opened my heart to not being retaliatory, because in my spirit I was like, this motherfucker needs to go down. You know what I mean? So I'm not typically vengeful because my energy is more pure than that. But at the end of the day, like if you double cross me and I was there for you,
but I mean,
and I rock with you,
though?
I'm not gonna feel good about that.
Would you have been vengeful if he wasn't legitimately psychologically unstable? Like, I mean, I'm
less vengeful because he was psychologically unstable, because even when he emailed me around Christmas, I totally told his friend, because I never responded, but I told her, I said, just tell him I forgive him, but I never want to talk to him again.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, like, forgiveness is not for him, it's for me.
It's for you.
And in a moment like that, I was like, and also I have felt better ever since I did. did because I had great memories with that person.
y'all had fun.
But I also had some of the worst ones with him too. Yeah. So it's kind of like, it's hard to kind of balance. But with that being said,
he was psychologically
there was
unhealthy.
Something wrong.
And there's a difference between being like, being a dick.
But I also hold myself accountable for the fact that there were signs that I ignored. And I deal with that guilt, and that runs on repeat in my head all the time. So I'm in my own personal hell.
No, yeah.
So how does it serve me?
It doesn't. And you shouldn't feel guilty though. Like, and I get it, right? Like, do you feel guilty because you're like, damn, maybe if I would have stepped in and
because of Riley mostly.
Well, right. So because if Riley didn't happen, right? Could you have overlooked and intervened? Not like stopped him, like not dealt with him being crazy, but would you have been willing to help him get the help he needed?
I was trying. I had already been trying. So in those moments when I was seeing those red flags, I was like proactively trying to tell him, like, I just want you to talk to someone because I don't think that this is normal. These arguments are getting more and more aggressive. You're getting physical with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people, when I tell people that I was in an abusive relationship, sometimes people think like Ike and Tina. It wasn't like that.
No.
It was an progression of like, you start to see different signs, like signs that you
Flashes.
like. You start to see signs of the things that you like no longer exist in the person. So like,
so sad.
It would start to shed away, like all those things that you were like, because there became a point too where I was like, I can't even think of sleeping with you. Like, and I'm not talking about even in like a physical, like sleeping in the bed, because we slept in a bed, we shared a bed, but it was to the point where I was like, sex?
It's not.
Are you kidding me?
No, yeah.
You know, and so with that, I think I was like slowly shedding like the girlfriend shit, and was like, maybe if I become less and less of his girlfriend, he would want to leave. And I was starting to realize that he wasn't. And what happened is it had the adverse effect, which was it just made him more crazy. And and that's why I'm saying that I claim accountability and I accept my responsibility in that too, because but when it comes to like getting him out, I didn't want to make a fuss. Like even when I was talking to my mom and like doing all that shit, and I remember just being like, I didn't want my uncle to go to jail. I didn't want the men in my life to come to my rescue and end up fucking because we're already in a world where these men are not respected and appreciated. And to put a black, like, it does suck.
As a black woman, there's so much responsibility when you're, because you have that fear of,
because that was an issue.
This is why
this is why we need a relationship podcast.
Yeah. Or just a conversational podcast, right? Mm-hmm. Because like there is that bit of accountability, right? Because like when you decided to eventually call the police, like you don't know how that could have went. You don't know how he reacted.
But I felt like I didn't have a choice.
No, you didn't know, right? Like, and that's where like it sucks as a black woman, because you have to then at that point a lot of times, or even as a victim as a black person, right? Because let's take gender out of it. Like when you as a black person have to decide to call the police on another black human being.
It's hard.
It's hard because you know that in any instance it can go left. And not only can it go left with the person that you're calling the cops on, it can go left for you.
Because the first time he hit me, I didn't call the cops. Yeah. And what's crazy about that, because he hit me and he tried to strangle me in the bathroom.
I remember that story. You told me 4 months after it happened.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I suck at that.
No, I mean, but that's something that you don't, I mean, and I'm blaming you. Like, you shouldn't be sorry for it, because like that's, who wants to share that aspect of something, right? And like also because you don't also believe that you're going through it. You can't even believe that, right? Like because like you decided to stay at that point, and so you telling friends about that
makes you look stupid.
Not even does make you look stupid, but now I hate him, right? Mm-hmm. And like you forgave him at that moment.
I didn't. Well, but what I did was I'll tell you exactly what I did. I had decided that I don't need anyone that I care for to be around this human being.
Okay.
That being my sister, my mother, you all, and I knew Sal hated his fucking guts. You know, it was just a lot. I was like, I can't have anybody around him. So then what you end up doing is you start only doing things with him and isolating yourself, because I'm an honest person. So at some point you're going to find out that there's a problem.
Yeah, there's a problem.
I'm going to hold it, but then at some point my slip is going to start to show, and you're going to be like, is everything really okay? Even though everybody knew that something was wrong anyway. But the thing is I told my mom, I said, I had reached a point where it wasn't about protecting me. It was about protecting everybody else, because I really didn't know what he was capable of. And I put myself in that position after so many people told me to leave him absolutely the fuck alone. And my intuition fired off for like a year.
Yeah.
Because of certain arguments. And then he would really get upset with me in moments of vulnerability. Like after I had my surgery, he immediately tried to fight me. And I was like, who tries to fight a person after surgery? You know, it was something about that. So anyway, whatever. Yeah. I didn't mean to tell all of my business, but I'm saying that to say that there is a part of even me that I realized in that moment, though, that there's a certain amount of abuse that I can't, the people take, but I found my limit, I think, at least with him, because you never know who you deal with later in life. But I'm just saying, like, that moment, I was like, wow, you killed my dog.
And hopefully in that moment, it's taught you to accept less.
No, it taught me to stop accepting less.
All right. Or no, what I'm saying, or stop accept less of red flags. That's what I meant. Of identifying red flags and being like,
and then accepting the reality that
it's over.
It's over. And the thing is I knew it was over, and I said, I think we're done. That's what I told him.
Yeah. Okay, wait, episode.
I'm sorry, episode. Where was I?
I don't know.
Animals.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, y'all.
The neighbor boxes moving out.
I hope y'all enjoyed that part. Now, they continue to canvass the area, and Biondi said, don't ask just about what was unusual. This is what he told the canvassing detectives. But ask about what is routine. Oftentimes, it is easier to identify the latter than point out where it varied, than to pull out something, quote unquote, unusual. 2, people will make observations during their normal routine that mean nothing to them, but they have great significance to a cop working the case because he has more pieces of the puzzle. So the tenants in the Sandpiper apartments, for example, gave complete accountings of their normal days activities for December 27th and December 28th. And of course, to us, those were not normal days, because we knew that our killer had, in all likelihood, left the car in the apartments, and in doing so, he must have been seen by someone. Now, anyway, they told us when they left and returned where they parked and walked and what they had recalled seeing or not seeing. Not seeing the red station wagon there at 6 p.m. could be just as important as seeing it there another time. We are always trying to narrow the window. We would have them describe all the cars they remembered seeing in the lot and end up with a long list of blue compacts, yellow trucks, brown vans, and again, it was a matter of elimination. These detectives be working a fucking ass off.
Yeah, I couldn't be a detective.
Then on January 28th, they got a call from a sergeant whose daughter-in-law named Nancy Holden, who had a weird run-in with this guy she went to high school with at the grocery store the morning of the Wallen murder. Now, this was very interesting because she runs into this motherfucker at the grocery store in this shopping center, and he ends up following her to her car, and she ends up running to her car and trying to get in the fucking car. And she gets in. She throws her shit in and he's following her. First of all, she gets out of the grocery store. He's following her. She's like, fuck. While she's in the grocery store, he's asking her all types of weird questions, like shit like, dude, were you there when Richie was in the car accident? Like asking her questions about high school. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And she knew who he was. And she remembered thinking she did hear that some fucked up shit had happened to Rick because this motherfucker didn't grow up like this. He wasn't like this. So then she starts running because she's like, he's being weird. He's following me. So she starts running to her car. So then she gets to her car. He tries to get in her car and she literally is putting the keys in, trying to get out. She pulls out of the parking lot, drives away. She escapes this fucking nut job. And she reported it because her family encouraged her to. So then,
good family.
When this started happening and they started seeing all this information about this like stringy hair, skinny white dude, she was like, sounds a lot like Rick. And I ran into him at the fucking grocery store. So she calls, she's also the daughter-in-law of a sergeant, and they end up contacting them and they're like, hey, this may be your dude because he did this weird shit to her. So they ran his DMV records and found an address. It was 2934 Watt Avenue, but it was apartment 12. Now, he was apparently 5'11", 140 pounds, skinny as fuck.
Skinny
born May 23rd, 1950.
Fucking Gemini.
Look here, go to my TikTok and look up the fact that I just realized that Luna is a fucking Gemini and I'm dealing with it. Ooh. When they got to the apartment, he didn't live there and the occupant didn't know the name either. He was like, I don't know who the fuck Rick is. Get the fuck away from my door. So Holden said, quote, well, Rick is white, almost 6 feet, very slender build. His hair is dark brown, over his eyes, collar length. He wasn't clean shaven, but appeared to have more whiskers on his neck than on his face. And then the cop was like, he read the bulletin and he was like, white male, early mid 20s, 5'10", 6 feet, slim build, dark brown. What was he wearing? He was like, let's see, a bright orange ski jacket, blue Levi's, tennis shoes.
Okay, wait.
So he looks at the bulletin.
So he looks like Marty McFly?
Basically. He's not Marty McFly. He looks at the bulletin. He's like, blue Levi, orange jacket. Oh, fuck. Okay. So when running Chase's name, they found that he had a concealed weapon charge in 1973 for carrying a .22 caliber handgun and for being a missing person from the American River Hospital in 1976.
Can you be a missing person from a hospital?
Apparently.
I thought you would just be like an escape.
You're not a prison. You're not a prisoner, so I don't know.
Whoa.
But I mean, you kind of are. It depends on how you got in there, to be totally honest. Now, consistent with the weapon used and the profile, he also was listed as a violent mental patient. And in 1968, he was a suspect in a shooting. He also had arrests in 1967, 1968, and 1971. So then they found a booking photo of Chase.
Our justice system has always sucked.
A little bit. And the healthcare industry.
There's that.
Then they found a booking photo of Chase. And there was an uncanny resemblance to the photo and the artist sketch that was provided by Nancy Holden. Nancy Holden was the woman at the grocery store parking lot.
But I mean,
sketches are so...
No, he's 5'10" to 6 feet with brown hair, white man.
He's every man in Sacramento.
White man in Sacramento.
Well, and that was the issue that they were running into before. The only reason why...
It's like in Chicago.
Well, the only reason why I feel like they were able to keep narrowing him down was this fucking orange ski parka, first of all. He won't stop wearing his jacket. Two, I mean, he's a fucking weirdo. He's checking off all the boxes.
He does.
It's like, what else do you need? So they ran into the manager of the building. Her name was Betty Teagan. And she was able to confirm that Chase actually didn't live in apartment 12, but he lived in apartment 15. Oh. So they had already been to apartment 12, knocked on the door. Dude didn't know who the fuck he was, but he was actually 3 motherfucking doors down. Now, she also told them that Chase had been seen carrying a rifle at least twice, and his mother was paying his rent, and that Chase had been a victim of LSD abuse.
He's a victim of
having mental problems caused by LSD.
How are you a victim of LSD abuse?
Yeah, that's the way white people see it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, you should know.
I mean,
Because at the end of the day, nigga, what? No, because we grew up in the hood.
Oh, okay, you're right.
We grew up in the hood, and black people, it's not considered. Yeah,
and it's the opioid.
It's the what are we calling the opioid crisis. You hear me? Now, the manager also made it clear that the mom and Chase were beefing and would only speak to each other through the door. So
the rent time, probably.
Yeah, so they were also able to get the license plate for Chase's Ford Ranchero. Why? Well, it was sitting in his parking lot. Okay. And 2, it had a Florida plate, which one of the witnesses later said that he did see the Ford Ranchero and it had a out-of-state plate. So they were actually able
from Florida?
Well, that's the weird thing. That don't seem to connect. I don't know what that is about.
Okay.
But when they went to Chase's apartment, they could hear someone was in there, but they didn't open the door. So they tried calling him. After 2 rings, a man weakly answered, "Hello. Hello, Richard." Robert said. This was one of the detectives. "Who's this?" "Bill." "Is this Richard?" "Yes." "Do I know you?" "Bill. Remember? We met a while back." Chase hung up. Roberts dialed the number again, let it ring 8 times, but this time there was no answer. He was definitely in there. So they loudly discussed that they're going to come back later. They had the feeling he was going to run. So suddenly, apartment 15 opened up and Chase started to head back to the rear of a complex, likely to his car. The 2 cops stopped him and he tried to run. And one of the officers used his .45, his fucking gun, his Colt .45 as a club and knocked this motherfucker upside the head. Chase's ass dropped to the ground. Chase did put up a fight though, because he's skinny to the motherfucker and undernourished, but apparently he had some crazy speed. And so they tried to
Jitsu.
He was fighting off being apprehended. He knew he was in trouble, and they were like, "God damn, this nigga is fast."
Probably on PS. Was he on drugs? Doesn't that give you like
it gives you like supersonic speed and shit. So but he definitely was not an easy person to arrest. But what they noticed that he was incredibly undernourished. He was wearing an orange ski jacket covered in brownish red stains.
Oh.
His shoes, belt, and pants were covered in blood. He had on he had on his person a .22 caliber pistol fully loaded with 12 fucking shots.
Wow, 22s carry that many bullets?
The gun was even covered in blood.
Perfect he had candidate for the psycho defense.
Yeah, insane. Insane defense. He had Daniel Meredith's credit card, his auto club card, his union card, his gas card, and his charge cards. And he also had a picture of Jason and Evelyn.
Cool. They had gas cards in the 70s. I didn't think they
went
back
That's
that far.
Crazy. As well as rubber gloves with dried blood on the fingers and a box box of ammo and a key ring with 16 keys on it. Are you a janitor? Why do you have so many goddamn keys?
Like, damn.
Chase had claimed he hadn't done anything. They wanted to tread lightly though, but they knew, fuck, we got a missing baby. We need a search warrant. So they had a beef at the door. They
like and probable cause of this.
Biondi was like, "Fuck all that shit. We got a baby that's possibly in there. Go in there. Do what you got to do." So they decided to go in anyway without a search warrant. That's probable cause.
I think it's probable cause.
This is what Chase says. "My apartment is a lot cleaner, isn't it? And I didn't do anything apartment except kill a few dogs." That's the end of part 2.
Nope, that will be the end of part 1.
I mean, whatever. I love the fact that I'm actually drunk on the first episode of season 2.
So we're drunk.
We're drunk. But you know what? Oh. I was also drunk on the 3rd episode of H.H. Holmes because
No, you were drunk the first episode of this.
Oh, of what?
The show.
The first episode of H.H. Holmes?
Yeah.
I thought it was the 3rd. I was pretty sure it was the 3rd part. I got fucked up.
Drunk on all of the very beginning.
Oh, really?
That was the point.
Maybe I'm just used to hearing myself drunk. I should talk to my therapist. So that's the end of the...
more about that because you talk to your therapist.
Yeah, I'll talk to my therapist. So that's the end of part 1. I hope you enjoyed it. You know what I like about this episode already? Well, one, because we're drunk. That's first and foremost.
I'm really curious because you know what?
But two,
I don't remember what we talked about.
What?
Because I'm excited to
because you're like, what is this story about?
Like, I'm really excited to listen to this again. Like, because
I don't know.
Been on an episode in a while, and I'm like always anticipating these coming on.
I want to listen to it all together.
And so now I'm ready to listen to it.
Is it weird that I listen to my own voice in the bathtub?
No.
Okay, good. Because I didn't feel weird about it, but I was just wondering if you didn't feel weird about it either.
No, I don't think it's weird.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I listen to my podcast only. I don't listen to any other podcasts. And here's why. It's not because I don't respect other podcasts. Of course I do, because they gave me the idea to do this. But because I'm looking for things that I could do differently all the time. So I always
You don't want to be inspired necessarily.
Yes, I don't want to be inspired by what anybody else is doing. And I prefer to get my own ideas based on my own mistakes.
That makes sense.
So I listen to my own podcast now. And I don't hate it, and I listen to it when I'm not bored.
No, that makes sense. So I listen to your podcast. I've been waiting. I listen to other true crime podcasts, but I've been like literally like I'll go through my library and I'm like I have like my top 4.
Did I ever give you a bag?
I do have a bag.
Okay, good.
And I'll shout out my top 4. You know, we should listen to Red Handed and Morbid and True Crime Garage, and then Red Handed and in no particular order.
Yeah, for sure.
I like those shows. Twice. I swear to God, I'm not God.
Yeah.
And I don't in none of those 4 in any kind of order, but I have definitely missed having you in my rotation. Where I'm like, I don't know what to do at the moment. And I can't wait to hear Kira back. I need to jump on an episode with Kiki. The 2 of you guys.
Yeah.
Because I literally sit and have conversations.
Well, what we should do is now that we're doing a part 2. Well, she wouldn't even know part 1, so this wouldn't be a good episode to do it on. But my next one we should have you both on.
I would love it because I sit and have conversations with them by myself.
Yeah, all the time. So when you listen,
I'm like, dude, nope, yep. I'm like, oh wait, they can't hear me having.
Kira is fucking funny as fuck, bro. I was listening to the clip that I posted where she was like, "He's a baby, see." On the James Bolger episode. Oh my gosh, she did that James Bolger thing. She was like, "Is this like Christopher Nolan's accent?" And then he was like, see, what the fuck? I was like, it's kind of like that, but worse. And then she was like, so it's a baby, see? And I was going to go down to the pub with me on mom. And I was like, oh, why do you sound like a pirate?
Yep.
Like, why do you know how to do this?
Hilarious.
She was hilarious. So, and I will not lie. Me and Kira's episode of Carl Panzram, which was our favorite. Which was our first fucking episode. Was so good.
Favorites.
I enjoyed the fuck out of it.
It was.
It was
inappropriately
it was
funny.
Organic though.
It was
because I really didn't know how she was going to respond to it, because sometimes me and Kira thinks I'm ridiculous.
No, yes.
So because
Kira's also 10 years younger than us.
She is, but she's also a Sagittarius.
And they're just
though I'm a Sagittarius moon, we have a lot in common, but we also have a lot of differences. And sometimes when I just up and start dancing in Marshall's, she thinks I am the most ridiculous person on the planet. She's like, why is she dancing? It's like everything embarrasses her. So I didn't really know how she was going to respond to me on the podcast. And then when we started doing it, and she was like, sure. I was like, sure.
Yeah,
what do
you guys are very organically funny. And it's probably because
we shared a room for 6 years.
Y'all just your banter is just natural.
I said 6 years. We shared a room for 14 years.
See?
From elementary school to high school through college.
Natural. So it's just funny. Your guys it's just, and then her personality is just funny. And
it's different from mine.
It is. You guys are.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say polar opposites.
No,
but you're different.
But you could tell we were raised in the same house.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
You
have the same parent. You're the perfect example. Parent.
Yeah.
You're the perfect example of being raised in the same household.
Yeah.
And being slightly and
being a little bit different. Yeah. And then also having a quite substantial age gap, in my opinion. We're 6 years apart, 7 grade years.
That's
because she was born in December.
You wouldn't date somebody 6 years younger than you when you were 18.
No,
maybe now.
Yeah,
18. No, 6 years to 12.
Sure.
Like, you're a kid. I remember you bringing Kira
to American Girl.
Kira. But she had a crush on me in like an American Girl. She's like, oh, look at him. He's all cute and light skinned. Clearly gay as fuck. But like, you know, she likes light skinned mixed kids. Like
that are gay.
Don't kill me, Kira. But you know, but I remember her like coming into sitting there and waiting for you to get off at like 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that would have been about how old she was.
No, Kira would have been young as fuck.
Oh no, because I guess you
because I was damn near 14. 19. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So she would have been like 9.
Yeah. No, was she? No, because she wasn't just coming to American Girl at 9 by herself.
She wouldn't have been by herself. I don't know who you're talking about, actually.
No, I mean, I remember sometimes she's been in the lobby waiting. And it wasn't your mama waiting with her.
Mathematically,
I know.
Kira would have been like 12, and she would not have been coming by herself.
I'm
pretty sure she only
never met your mom.
Yeah, you've never met my mom. But Kira's only been to the store with my mom. So who are you talking about?
No, it was Kira.
It wasn't Kira.
It was.
It couldn't have been.
I remember Kira sitting in the lobby.
She probably visited the store, but she couldn't travel alone.
That's a good point. I don't know why we're still having this.
Yeah, why is this a thing? So this episode's over. I'm sorry. I hope y'all really enjoyed this. You know what's dope? My homeboy, who's been, helping push my podcast a little bit too, said that like people rock, with my personality and like the podcast, and I think that's so fucking dope. That even though you may know, like I'm arrogant enough to know that I'm not a terrible human being, but at the same time, I definitely fuck with the idea.
You're a great human being because like I'm your friend and you're nice to me.
Yeah. And I'm nice to my friends. But also just like hearing about people who are just like, oh my God, I wouldn't mind kicking it with her and shit like that. Like, that shit is dope.
Though. She's dope.
Yeah, I'm cool. I don't hate it. I don't hate myself.
You're privileged to be her friend.
What?
I'm just saying.
And we'll talk about Cheesecake Gate. That's coming soon.
That's another episode.
That's coming soon.net. So
we don't do the Cheesecake Factory unless we're accidentally in the neighborhood. We're not accidentally in the neighborhood because we actually like the neighborhood that Cheesecake Factory in Chicago's in.
I mean, facts. Cheers to that. But they're like Gibson's like a block away. I'm not going to the fucking Cheesecake Factory.
There's like 20 places in a block.
Yeah. And if you send me there, you're not getting no coochie.
No longer there. But I mean, the signature room was
R.I.P. to the SIG.
Right, 90 floors above the Cheesecake
95th
Factory.
floor signature room is gone. Me and my homeboy went to Cloud 360, and what a waste of time.
Like, what?
What a waste of time. You
paid to do what you could have done for free.
Because let me tell you, he was so disappointed in the experience that they ended up giving him a free ticket. And because he was moving, he was like, you can have a ticket. And I was like, okay, I'll take the ticket. I never went. Not only did I not go, I never even gave it to anybody else to go.
Because who in Chicago wants to go to the top of the Sears Tower?
No, it's not the Sears Tower. It's the John Hancock. That's why I mentioned it.
Oh.
The Cloud 360 is the
Willis
bar.
Tower's called?
Willis Tower is a Sears Tower.
No, but what's the...
You're talking about Skydeck.
There we go.
Yeah.
Same difference.
But kind of. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Again, I'm not paying to go to a top of a building.
But people also don't understand it's kind of like the Eiffel Tower in a way where like getting up that takes time. Because like you think you could just get in the elevator and go straight up to the 95th. But if that motherfucking like room, if that restaurant is busy, you're not getting up there. And I mean, you're going to be like 15 minutes late to your reservation. Because then you have to stand in line in the lobby. Then they got to queue up a certain number of people.
I feel like it's it's not 2 elevators there.
I can't remember how many elevators they got, but they only let a certain number of people on the elevator.
Thinking, like, no, not there. There's some, what building is that? Where you have to get on 2 elevators to get to the top floor.
That is the John Hancock.
Okay, that is right. Like you have to you can't just go straight from 1 to 95.
Is that yours?
Yeah, that is mine. That's yours over there.
But no, that's what I'm saying is that's the thing.
Yeah.
Is like you got to do it in levels. So you think you could just go up like 20 floors, but it's like, no, it's 95 floors. Yeah. It's not like you got to depressurize. It's just that it's just a process. So
do that.
My point is me and my homeboy went to Cloud 360. If you want to see the sunset and all that other shit, it's very pretty.
I guess I've done Coin Classics.
But what they were pushing on Instagram was the bar, which was the real reason why we were there. Because we 2 niggas that live in Chicago. Like, why we need to see this town in 360? We've already seen it.
Yes.
We had both been, I think he had been to Signature Room too. But my point is that regardless, you've been up there. We were up there to get drunk.
Yeah.
Do you know what this motherfucker did up there? And this was the wildest shit I had ever seen in my life.
What do you do? Take his dick out.
No, what? No, we get up to Cloud. We get up to Cloud 360, right? We sit there. They got all these like edge bar seats or whatever along the windows. It's super pretty. And then he goes, he gets a drink. But right before he's about to go, these two white women stop him and they're like, hey, do you mind taking a picture of us? And he said no and walked away and went to the bar. And on that note,
that's episode 1.
That is episode 1.
Season 2.
Love y'all.
See y'all on part 2.
See y'all on part 2. Bye.